I am. What if I told you a podcaster was able to trade a player for a bunch of live animals this week on 30 for 30? Soccer is a Zoo.
The amazing part is that, yeah. And it's not a Florida team. That sounds like a Florida thing.
Ooh, that does sound like a Florida, like a Bill Vex special.
Don't burn all your
Pony, if I told you that I listened to way too much, and by that I mean like 15 minutes of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic songs today to try to come up with a really good joke, and then just completely forgot what I was going to do. Is that accurate?
It's funny, but
okay, great.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I did that, and I
the parody songs or not.
No, it was the real ones. I was going through all the seasons.
The parody ones are almost better.
Noted. All right, Mike. I'm sure you enjoy that. Anyway,
did you guys look at the news part of the notes? Is there you may want to?
Yes. No, because we'll talk about Angelo destroying his ankle when we talk about their game.
Cool.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening to the USL show, sponsored by Roughneck Scarves, your home for U.S. national team USL and MLS scarves, as well as custom scarves for your clever personal use. Check them out, roughneckscarves.com. I'd also like to insert a joke about the World Cup and how the U.S. won't be making that, so feel free to buy, Nigerian international scarves if they have those. This podcast is also produced by the Beautiful Game Network of Podcasts, which we are very proud to be a part of. Check the whole network out on bgn.fm, as well as on the Twitters at the BGN FM. I am, of course, your host, Evan Villella, joined sometimes by my soccer colleagues, sometimes by my soccer acquaintances, but they're always my soccer friends. And for the next hour or so, I will be your moderator, host, or maybe even your facilitator of a discussion of the 10th week of USL action, as well as a recap of the 9th week of USL action, in which the Eastern Conference decided to go completely upside down, which is great. Joining me this week, we have the waviest man in the St. Louis metropolitan area, the cream in your Irish coffee. It's Phil Grooms.
Hey, can I make you start over? I wasn't recording.
Yeah, you certainly can.
I'm really sorry.
No, you're cool.
You stop and ruined your part of it too. I'm sorry.
No, you're all right.
This is a game cut for the real show.
Yeah, no. Yeah, well, yeah, hopefully this isn't kept it. I mean, Mike, throw it at the end. Whatever. Who cares?
It's a reward if someone actually manages to listen to us talk for almost an hour.
Yeah, you get kind of the bonus content that no one else gets to hear. It's like USL show off topic.
After dark.
Sorry,
USL After Dark. That's where we talk about everyone's favorite dark chocolate related candy, Milky Way Midnight.
I love
delicious.
It is.
It's good. It's good. It's good. Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening to the USL show, sponsored by Roughneck Scarves, your home for national team, USL, and MLS scarves, as well as custom scarves for your club or personal use. Check them out at roughneckscarves.com. This podcast is also produced by the Beautiful Game Network of Podcasts, which we are very proud to be a part of, and eternally grateful for Mike Sparks for putting that all together, which he will love me saying, and that's why he did it. Definitely check the whole network out, bgn.fm, as well as on Twitter at the BGNFM. I'm Evan Villella, joined sometimes by my soccer colleagues, sometimes my soccer acquaintances, but they are always my soccer friends. And for the next hour or so, I will be your moderator, host, or maybe even your facilitator of a discussion of the week that was in USL play, as well as the week that will be in USL play. Joining me this week, it is the waviest man in the St. Louis metropolitan area, the cream in your Irish coffee. It's Phil Grooms.
Hello, everybody.
How's it going, man?
Pretty good. I'm looking at your fresh haircut and your new custom jersey. That looks real good.
It is. It's not it's let's not tell people that it's a custom because the club doesn't have the letters to actually do those.
It's not custom.
So it's not. It doesn't exist. I don't know what you're talking about. Anyway, it's the best parts of Chuck Palahniuk and Elliott Smith. If he could do any more podcasts, he would be another person that does more podcasts, but I don't know who that would be. It's Big Kev, Kevin McCamish.
What up?
How's it going, man?
Good.
Good.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right. Thank you. No one ever asks me how I am, by the way, in these intros.
Kevin, why'd you even ask?
It's always, hey, how's it going, Phil or Kev or Pony or Ryan or whoever? And they're always like, oh, I'm good, man. I'm like, great. And no one ever returns the favor. So, Kevin, thank you.
I care about him. You know how much I care about him? I got him a pride scarf. So
he did. It's back there.
Got a Portland one coming your way.
Pow! Portland Timbers, here we go. Big 6-point weekend over the Sounders. Anyway, we're digressing. If the USL had a Rainbow Dash, he really did not get that right. If USL had an Equestria, he would be our Rainbow Dash. He's more like Pony. What's the pink one that's really annoying?
Oh boy, this is going off the rails quickly. That would be Pinkie Pie, by the way.
Oh right, okay. So basically, your Pinkie Pie like off air, but on air, you're like the evil one that no one likes from the movie.
Oh, okay. That's new. So how are you doing?
I'm great. How are you? See, it's great because I made that reference for one person and it was you. So the fact that you were able to understand it and no one else will doesn't really matter because like that's the whole bit.
Top-notch content.
It's really good. It's really good. Guys, the good news is as of right now, we're not a My Little Pony Friendship is Magic podcast. Although
Soon.
Stay tuned. Don't stay tuned. It won't happen. We're a soccer podcast, so let's talk about the Soccers. Starting with the news portions of the USL. And the big one coming out, the Chicago Cubs owner, as well as the Derby County minority owner, Tom Ricketts, is going to start a Chicago franchise, including a stadium in the north side, which is interesting.
It's very interesting. It's exciting, right?
Yeah.
And then everyone immediately tried to ruin our fun, right?
Yeah.
Especially,
yeah, I mean, that's what happens.
Especially Napoon. Napoon was like, what did he say? Something like USL.
It was
and
our good friend Napoon from Sock Takes, who seemed to be so much smarter than everyone else. It almost hurts me in just terms of how they look at, transactions and things in the sport. But his tweet from a couple days ago was, what if the plan here isn't USL competing with MLS? What if the plan here is the USL team launching and buying out the Fire? And he thinks the MLS and the Fire might be in on it, which would be amazing.
That's top tier conspiracy theory, but
that's very like Bond villain. I'm going to tell you how I'm going to kill you, but it's just super elaborate so that you'll have time to get away kind of like vibes.
I love that. That's really good.
So if you want to just think of like Don Garber as, I don't know, like Odd Job with a giant hat or, Jaws with the teeth or, I don't know, like a less serious note, Dr. Evil, maybe.
Goldfinger.
I will turn your club into gold.
I mean, that's the worst case scenario, right? I like to focus.
That he turns a club into gold? I mean, that's probably the most extravagant scenario.
It's very extravagant. That's the Donald Trump method, I think.
I think we just gave Las Vegas their next weekly appointment.
Yep.
We're going to turn our llamas to gold.
Our 2019 home kit is just body paint.
But I like to focus on the best possible scenario, which is this team coming in with a giant, I forget how, 20,000 seat stadium is going to be built on the north side of Chicago. So that is, it's the MLS model. It's in a place where the MLS model failed miserably in the Chicago Fire, at least the way they wanted to be downtown, have public transit to the place, that whole atmosphere where all the young kids are to grow the sport in America. So USL is doing that in Chicago the way MLS should have done it, and I'm really excited about that. I also
Pony.
Yeah, go.
What are the odds Michael Jordan plays for this team?
50-50 probably. I mean, he's done almost every other sport.
Yeah. Acclaimed curler, very good jockey. A lot of,
top-notch internet.
Some people called him the American Kasparov, when he was playing chess back in the day, but that's neither here nor there.
I like it.
Thank you.
Is there anything else you guys have been thinking about this Chicago USL thing?
Man, it's happening so far away from now, like 2 years or so. Like I'm just excited to see what they're going to bring in terms of what they're going to be called, what their logo is going to be. Once it starts to get more real and we start to see more about the team, that'll be really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's a great idea though.
The hype is real in my life for this team to be
fair enough.
Huge. I'm sure we'll talk more about it.
And then, not to be outdone by not being in this country and or available to record tonight, Ryan did a quick search through the MLS salary database that came out 2 weeks ago. And it looks like a couple of the highest paying players in USL are guys that are on two teams, which makes a lot of sense. Including John McCarthy of Bethlehem Steel most weeks. He's on $95K a year. Tomas Hilliard Arce, who's on $90K on a rookie deal for Los Angeles Galaxy 2. And then Andrew Carlton's at $75K, the Atlanta United / Atlanta United 2 boy. But then he says Jeff Attinella for Portland, who's making like $115,000 a year, is probably the highest paid player to record a minute in USL.
Yeah, but he's also the starting keeper for the first team.
It's true.
I mean, the only reason why he even has a USL minute, like a game, basically, is just to get that match fitness he needed to get back into it. So, but I guess that technically counts. But I mean, $115,000 might be expensive for USL, but it's dirt cheap for your starting goalkeeper in MLS. I can tell you that much.
Yeah. Right, yeah.
And Thomas Hilliard Arce thing though, like 90,000. That's a lot of money for a USL player. If it's not,
but that's an MLS rookie deal though,
and that's still pretty high for that, right?
Yeah, well, that's
third pick, right? Second pick.
Yeah,
pick?
He was up there 2 or 3.
I think there's tiers for which round you get picked or something like that. So
sounds right.
So yeah.
Anyway,
that's good. That's awesome that Ryan looked all that up for us. So thanks, Ryan.
Thanks, Ryan.
You're great. Thanks, Ryan.
U.S. Open Cup. Hey, our friends in FC Cincinnati made the news again for bad things. Only allotting, 25 tickets for Detroit City in the Open Cup, which is just dumb.
That dumb's your word. I would have gone bullshit, but yeah.
Well, that's fair. Yeah.
And what was the capacity of the stadium they held that game at? I forgot.
900,000.
No. Wasn't it like 2,500, something like that?
Yeah, it wasn't at Nippert, so I mean, it wasn't like they were sitting on 30,000 seats or whatever. But I mean, to only allocate 25, if that
feels like gamesmanship, right?
Kinda. I don't know.
Except it just around Detroit City, so it's gonna get ugly.
Yeah, that's definitely part of it. Like that's a very passionate fan base as well. So that didn't, help things.
Yeah, I almost wanted to buy it was just dumb at the front office and kind of more reckless and ignorant than malicious. But you don't really, I think it was just a really stupid move and it blew up in their face.
Yeah.
And I mean, if this happened to them at all, Cincinnati would just go absolutely nuts if they're on the receiving end of this one.
Oh, yeah.
True. That's the other part of it is that's why it's so great to see, I see Cincinnati do this to Detroit City. It's just like the perfect couple.
Yeah.
It could be a show. 100%. Yeah.
If it was like the Michigan Bucks, or if it was like, Christos or like Reading United or, like another PDL team or a non-league team or whatever, like Minneapolis City or Providence City, I don't think there'd be as big of an outrage, really. But you just happen to piss off one of the most vocal and passionate fan bases in that kind of non-league or very low league soccer. And you're getting what you deserve for doing that, if I'm honest. So I'm sure I won't make anybody in Cincy happy with me calling them Attendance FC and all that nonsense. But, regardless of what you think I think about the club and everything like that, like this is just dumb.
Yeah. And I still say what would be interesting, not saying it should happen or if anyone from Detroit's listening to this, you should do it or not, is if Cincinnati and I think it's Pittsburgh win, the game's in Pittsburgh, and it would be very funny if a bunch of angry Detroit fans buy all the tickets for the Pittsburgh game.
You guys don't have to show up, just buy them.
Buy them all.
That would be hilarious.
Yes, I'm a fan from Cincinnati. I'd like to buy a ticket to the game for Pittsburgh.
Like buy all of your tickets, please.
Yeah, all of them, please.
All of the tickets, please. Yeah.
I'll defend Cincy in that at least this is just like what they have to do for the Open Cup. And they don't do this in any other games like other.
Because they legally can't really.
Well, I don't know. This is what I was getting at is what the hell was Swope Park trying to do for a couple games this year and then got
That's fair.
out. So that's the parallel I was drawing there.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know. I love the Open Cup. I really do. I think it's a great tournament. But there's so many things where I'm like, we just need to change that.
It just needs a lot of change needs to happen, and it needs more attention, and it takes money. It's a whole mess. It deserves a lot more attention than it gets. I mean, ESPN Plus should pick up every freaking game, or at least a few each round, I would say. I don't think we're near that happening, unfortunately.
No, not at all. Speaking of unfortunate things, Week 9 happened, and it was crazy in the East especially, but I think kind of throughout the league. It was a weird one, starting with Penn FC beating Toronto 1-0. Super unfortunate. This game was a bloodbath in a lot of ways. The short of it, Penn FC wins. Miguel Jaime chips Angelo Cavaluso in the 87th minute, and not only does Cavaluso not save the ball, which he was actually doing really well up until this point, he apparently ruptured his Achilles. Our friends over at Waking the Red, James Grossi, got the scoop on that one from one of TFC2's assistants, saying that Angelo ruptured his Achilles and is probably out for a year because that's not a common injury or a very easy to repair one. Yep. So it looks like Cavaluso might be out for the rest of the season, which would be horrifying for them.
Yeah, he's by far their best player and probably a top 5 keeper in the league.
Yep.
He actually had a PK save earlier in that game too.
That's right. Shocking. I was wondering if Mark Pace, who was, playing for T2 last year a lot before Cavaluso had his run, he was a St. Louis player 2 years ago. I wondered if he'd get called back in, but I don't know if maybe they have academy people because I haven't seen him called up yet. But he's been.
I honestly forget who came in for him, but I would imagine it'll be whoever that was, or it might be an academy kid. It depends, I guess, on what they want to do.
Or he comes in and they put an academy kid on the bench. That would make a lot of sense.
Yeah,
what St. Louis has been doing this season without Gomez. So
yeah. So that being said, with Cavaluso out for the rest of the year, does Toronto find a way to win a game? Or is that such a big blow to them that that's the death knell already?
They should pick up something. They're not that bad. They don't look like a complete dumpster fire.
True.
But the wins might be harder to come by.
Right. Yep. I think this probably will cost them maybe 10 points, but...
That's a lot. That's a whole lot.
Maybe not that much, but still, I think it costs them at least one or two wins.
I think that's very fair. I think 10 is fair too. It could cost them 3, or at least one win and a couple draws or a few.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The other question is, do they care? They might be excited to give this other guy some minutes.
No, I don't think you're excited to see a kid with that much. I don't even want to call it potential because he's that good already. But a guy that could use those minutes in terms of, you don't want to displace any of your MLS guys right now, but that's clearly the future of your goalkeeping situation. Maybe. It's always interesting because guys have to step up now, and you'll get to try a couple things out at goalkeeper. And they might be looking forward to that because they might have a couple guys in the academy or even just kind of that aren't getting minutes right now that they're high on. But I mean, that's such a huge blow for them, for sure. It sucks. Angelo, feel better, get better.
Yeah,
because
rooting for you.
Yeah, there's any team in USL, a lot of teams in MLS would take a goalkeeper of that caliber for sure. So moving on.
Players. Valesca got 90.
Heyo. Phoenix 3-0 win over Oklahoma City. Phoenix is really good.
Yeah.
They're just really good.
They're not dropping points.
No.
And they're still second.
Right.
As good as they are, they're second place.
Yeah.
It's still a 1-2 for the West.
They've been really consistently getting points every single game. I feel like I don't know if that's 100% true. I don't know if Pony knows, but I feel like they haven't lost this year, have they?
One loss to Monarchs.
That's right. And yeah, to that team. So
yep, the other really good team.
Right.
Yeah, Phoenix is good. I think. I mean, it's been said they're really good, and Oklahoma City is going very, very south quickly.
Oh man, aren't they setting a record for that?
I think they just tied the longest post Antigua losing run.
Oh, Antigua. That one.
You'll never beat Antigua. Well,
No. That was the problem. Everyone beat Antigua.
Yeah. But this has just been a dumpster fire for Oklahoma City, who we all thought would be at least decent this year.
Yeah, apparently not. Tulsa won. Reno won.
Oklahoma's bleeding.
Yeah, this was Tulsa's 5th draw in a row.
Yeah.
They still haven't won, but they had a 5-draw streak going there.
Yeah, I don't know if I like that or not. Like, I don't know if I would be okay with that.
No, I think they have every right to not be okay with it for the fans, the players, and everyone involved. But I think they're a lot better than the record is. Yeah. They're not a playoff team, but they don't deserve to be right there at the bottom of the table. That's for sure.
I don't know. I kind of feel like they do, but they're doing better than every time I watch them. I think they're going to give up in a game, and they don't. They push hard. They're scrappy, like I kind of went on a rant about last week. I'm really surprised they're not doing worse than they are.
I always think the opposite. Watch them. If you watch and said after 9 games they'll have 5 points, I'd say it's definitely more than 5. It's not. Maybe it's like 10 range, 10 to 12, but we'll see how they have to stop getting unlucky at some point here.
Yeah. SLC versus Swope Park. Carlton Belmar continues to score goals, which is great if, you're under my same train of thought and that he'll probably end up with more goals than some franchises. And then SLC just kind of do what they do and scored 3 times, and Brad Evans know how that one with an own goal to make it 4-1. So is there anyone that can beat Real Monarchs? Is that just not going to be a thing this year? Like, are they going to like Red Bull of the Western Conference this whole thing and that'll be the end of it?
They're bound to slip up to a couple of good teams here and there. I mean, I think Phoenix could beat them on.
Yeah.
I mean, that'll be a close one most days. I think the other top West teams, if they're playing well, could still edge them out. Remember last year, Monarchs started really, really well, then just dropped off in the second half. I'm waiting to see if they do that again, where they went from being the clear one team to still like a top team, but no longer the dominant force they were.
Yeah,
I'd like to see them keep it up.
For some reason, I keep thinking they're going to drop off at some point. Especially watching, Louisville City, which we'll talk about, take a draw and a loss in the last couple of weeks. So I think SLC will hit that. And I think, obviously, if history is correct, it'll happen late in the season.
Kev, your thoughts?
Well, I was going to say, I think the season-defining moment for SLC is going to be they'll take a couple hits, like I think all teams are going to. The question is, will it be like last season where, the wheels obviously didn't come off, but they kind of grinded to a halt as far as, like Pony was saying, being the dominant force in the West? Or if it's just going to be like all good teams, you take a hiccup here, a hiccup there, but you keep on chugging along and you stay dominant. In particular, I mean, if they want to win anything in the postseason, they'll want to have a good run in towards the end of the season for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, and hearing you say that, I think you're dead on there, Kev. And I think teams that I think will give them a good matchup are just really good defensive teams. Teams like maybe Colorado at home. I could see San Antonio at home pulling one out on them with some good counterattacks. And then what was I thinking? Like St. Louis or Portland even. I think Portland's shown that they have a really good defense. So it'd be interesting to see who will beat them, because I think we're all agreeing here that someone will at some point.
I think the teams that are so Salt Lake City versus Phoenix, was that at Salt Lake City?
Phoenix, I believe.
Was it Phoenix? Okay, well then never mind about that. Phoenix is a really good team, and whether it's home on the road, they're probably the only team I think in the West that can give Salt Lake City a run for their money usually on a good day. As far as teams at home that could probably hold out against Salt Lake City, I think Phil's right. St. Louis and Portland being good defensively, although this week St. Louis is not very good defensively.
No.
Sorry, Phil. Those teams at home could put up a fight. I mean, T2 actually did very well against Salt Lake City. If you only look at the last 65 minutes of their match in Salt Lake City, to be fair. So yeah, I mean, there's going to be teams. There will be scenarios that are going to occur where someone's going to beat Salt Lake City once or twice, or maybe a couple times. But like I said, for them to define their season and be better than they were last season, they will not want to grind to a halt as the season comes to a close.
Yeah, fair enough. Fresno 2, RGV FC 2. Fresno a little unlucky in that own goal for Connor Donovan, but good game, solid game. I think we really underestimated the Foxes going into the season.
Pony did. Pony was good.
That's fair. Yeah.
So I think I overestimated them at this point. They just can't pull out wins. They're good at not getting beat, though.
Yeah, they are. It's what I said last time. Like, they could keep drawing, and then they could explode into the playoffs and go on a run. You could see it happen because just not losing is something in itself. There's something to be said for it.
Yeah, but they only have 2 wins.
Yeah, but just get into the playoffs and
get in. It's hard. That'd be hard out for the playoffs, but they actually have to get there. And if they keep drawing every game, they're not going to do that.
Right.
That's true. We'll see. Up next,
a child born in this millennium. God,
rough.
What did I do with someone who was born after I graduated high school?
Ooh, I like that one so much better.
How about that?
Oh man,
for me too.
That's rough.
He's
Phil,
young.
it was against your team.
It was against my team, and I think Zubak is 17, so that might be true for him too.
Yeah.
I don't know what year that was, but
Phil, if this match between Los Angeles and St. Louis was a BuzzFeed article, it would be 6 ways millennials are killing St. Louis.
Love it. That's good.
Wow. And it's because of 2 hat tricks. Zubak with one, which was great in and of itself, but the one that made the news, Efrain Alvarez, the 15-year-old with a hat trick.
Yeah, so this is a Mexican national. He's playing for their youth teams, stolen from the United States. Could be as good or better than Jonah Gonzalez.
Yeah, I don't want to Freddie do this kid now.
But he's playing for Mexico, so why not?
Yeah,
why not Freddie do?
Make him Mexican.
He's the best thing ever.
He is the best thing ever.
I mean, what was I going to? What's his name? I'm sorry. Zubak looked good. He did a great job, especially for being a number 9 as a young kid. I think he was really impressive. But more so, Alvarez he just pulled some moves on one of our defenders that just it was a beautiful goal. He did a great job getting around a guy and sending it into the corner. Perhaps it should have been saved by the goalkeeper. But either way, Alvarez looks really good. He's going to be a special player. We do have hope as Americans because I think it's a 15-year-old named Yanez, who also plays on the wing for Los Dos. So if you're watching for young guys in the USL, watch Zubak, watch Alvarez, watch Yanez. They're all really good young players. I'd love to maybe talk to them in the future if I can pull that off, and I might try to do it.
You legitimately have to ask their parents.
Yeah, you're probably right.
No, it's true. You'd have to ask the academy that they're a part of, and then their parents have to sign off on it. But
I guess the last thing I want to say about it is that they did really well in this game, and I think any team would have at least given up a couple goals.
Yes.
Lewis looked especially bad, playing kind of the bottom of their lineup in a few spots, and they just looked terrible. They looked really bad. I hope it's an outlier. All of St. Louis hope that game was an outlier, but we'll see throughout the season if they can keep it back to their old ways of defending well.
So Ethan Zubak, he's 20 years old. He actually just turned 20 on April 15th.
Thanks for correcting me, because
he's a little bit older.
I really thought he was 17. So never
Still
mind.
millennial.
That's fine. Well, he's been playing with LA Galaxy 2 since 2015. So this is his third
the
season.
old guard.
So I think he started when he was about 17. Other thing that we should probably mention, particularly, this is the first time that St. Louis scored more than one goal in a match.
Oh yeah, there was a lot of fight in the team, but I didn't want to sound like a homer. I thought it would be like 6-1 at the end of this game, even like 20 minutes into this. But they really did fight back and got more goals than they usually score. So that's something.
Yeah, this was absurd for both teams. Going to the end of this game, LA had scored 5 goals all season, and St. Louis had only allowed 6. For the score to be 6-3, there's, I mean, that's like season totals for both teams right there.
Yeah.
But LA might actually be turning a corner. They got a couple big scoring games in a row.
No.
Who knows?
No.
I truly think so.
Not yet. No. Wait one more game, damn it.
Apparently not. And then we go from that, which was high scoring, entertaining on the Western Conference, to Pittsburgh and Indy just deciding to play out a 0-0 draw in what I'll call the return to Lily Ball.
It's only Lily Ball for the 85th minute goal to win 1-0.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah.
But yeah, this was just Pittsburgh walking down. They looked the better team, and they got a draw 0-0 against a good side. I mean, it's basically what you expect when you see Pittsburgh go against a solid team. I mean, it kind of proves Pittsburgh's good. Indy's nothing to be trifled with. They're probably not quite a top 4 side, but they're probably one of the best of that second tier.
Pony, can you nail down what makes Indy a decent side? I've hated them all season, and they're getting some results.
Wow.
I mean, their defense is actually good. Despite a few despite that weird high-scoring game against Cincinnati, they've actually looked solid on defense for the most part. And their attack, while it's not great, isn't really anemic or anything like that. They have a few quality results, like you said. They beat Louisville. They beat Richmond on the road. They beat North Carolina in Nashville. I mean, at home, they've lost both games to Cincinnati, but I don't know. I think they just look more consistent than anyone else. They've only given up multiple goals on one occasion, and that's after now 8 games, including a few solid sides.
Yeah.
While they're not elite, I think they're better than your next tier. If you're Nashville, or North Carolina, you're like, I don't know, maybe your New Yorks or things like that. I think they're better than that group, even though they're. But by no means you're going to win the East. By no means you're going to make a deep playoff run. Mm-hmm. But I think out of the teams who are probably on the road, they're one of the ones you don't want to see.
I will say I think they're being saved by, and I'm blanking on his name. What is the winger / striker from Sporting Kansas City that they have? He played for Sporting last year in MLS.
Is it Benny Feilhaber?
No, he's playing for LAFC.
Right.
Was it the Mackin, whatever?
No. Jack was with the Timbers.
I keep wanting to say it's Shaloi or Saloy, but he still plays for Sporting. It's something like that. It's one of those like
Sunny Saad.
Thank you. Sunny Saad's been scoring some bangers for them, and he, I think, might be the only reason they are as good as they are.
Probably.
Almost like a Dane Kelly effect. I'm going to say possibly that's true.
It's that little bit of quality that they need to take them to that next level in the East, especially where you need a couple guys that can steal points from you, especially by scoring goals and not just playing good defense.
And that's what I've been saying about Nashville all season. If they had one of those guys, they'd be so much better.
Well, hold on to that.
Yeah, exactly.
Colorado won, Las Vegas 0 in a game that Colorado probably should have made 2 or 3 here, but they get a win.
Yeah, Vegas is starting to turn into the team we thought they'd be at the start of the season.
Yes.
I mean, they're still better on defense than I think we all thought they'd be on defense, but Colorado Springs is quietly a very good team. I think they've now played 12 games and only allowed multiple goals once. They're going to be another one of those teams that you look past and get burned because they're going to beat you 1-0 or they're going to hold you to a 0-0 or 1-1 draw. I'd like to see them get a better goal scorer because I don't think they really have the pure guy who could count on to put up 12 goals in the season. But I think they actually can make some movements in the West if everything starts breaking right and maybe they get one good signing.
Yeah, and they have that attacker from Fiji. He's a national team player for what? Nah, it's not Fiji. I'm getting that wrong. But for a Pacific team down there, and he will have. No, it's not New Zealand, but anyway, they will have these weird games where they score at least two goals, and they'll have these breakouts, and then they'll have a lot of games where they'll struggle to score at all, kind of like Pony was alluding to. They're a weird team, but if they lose that player for too long, that may be troublesome. But he's doing good for them.
I think it might be Malcolm.
It is, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I know they lost Kasher in the offseason too. That one I think hurt him a bit.
Exactly.
They're a very good striker.
Speaking of hurting a bit, Ottawa 2, Atlanta 0. They did it. Guys, they did it. Guys, they did it. Guys, they did it. Oh, I'm so happy for him. Steven Dos Santos, 26-minute. Carl Hayworth, 35th minute. Ottawa 2, Atlanta, no goals.
I didn't watch this one, I think, for obvious reasons. I thought it would be a blowout. Did anyone catch this? I need to...
Not much of this one. I think this wasn't really a highlight game, but again, Ottawa might not be the worst team in the world when they get the right matchup. And Atlanta, in Ottawa, points from most teams. It's kind of like Tampa, except they're not as good.
Isn't that a lot of teams in the East? Like, that's how you could describe them. They're Tampa Bay, but they're not as good. Except for like maybe away, because then they're probably a lot better.
I think most people are.
Hey, moving on. SLC 1, Fresno 0. Mikael Chang, 8th minute, and then you could have turned this game off and not missed a whole lot.
SLC continue to be the best in the West, and they sit in first, 1 point ahead of Phoenix, but they've got a game in hand.
I know someone here who likes to talk about game in hands.
Someone has some team not played as many games as the others.
One of these things, not like the others.
Good.
I'm sorry.
Because one of these teams has only played 8 times or whatever.
Yes.
I think that's the scariest thing, is that not only are SLC better than everybody else, they haven't played as many games as everybody else, and you know that's going to matter in some way, shape, or form at the end of the season.
They're good, and if you have seen Salt Lake City play and you've seen Fresno play, like I feel like this game, you could have just imagined what it was.
Yeah,
and guessed that this is what it was. They looked exactly like you thought they would.
They are who we think they are.
Yeah. I watched a good, like 45 minutes of this game, and I was like, well, this is exactly what I thought would happen.
Like, this is exciting. Hey, Charleston 2, Bethlehem 1. Honestly, Charleston worked balls out wide and then exploited Steele's inexperience at the back and got a 2-1 win. Not a whole lot to it.
I've been going on about Guerra. I found out
great.
he was playing as a striker, where last year he was more of a 10, or maybe a removed striker. I know he was definitely playing under Mario Williams in the first part of the season, and he's showing that he has the talent to do the number 9 job. I think he's been very, very good.
And that second goal they got for Gordon Wild, where he just kind of came in and hit a really difficult angle on that header, was great. I think Charleston's going to be fine this year, for sure. I think Bethlehem will be fine too, but they've had a really strange schedule.
Well, what are they in second place right now in the East?
Charleston, yeah.
Isn't that crazy? No one would have guessed that.
Not at all.
And I wanted to bring this up because I wrote down his name and I forgot it. The coach's name, I forget what it is, but he has done well.
Charleston?
Yeah. Do you
Mike Anhauser.
That guy, I just think he's good. I think he knows how to figure it out no matter what he's working with. And I think that's something like Charleston never get rid of him. I think
they haven't. That's the point. Like him and Kalashal have both been there forever, and it's because it works out for him.
Crazy.
Right. See that segue? Lee Kalashal, 1-0. Richmond Kickers beat Tampa Bay at City Stadium. Dane Kelly appears and scores off of a ball from Austin Yearwood, who's one of my weird favorite. He's like Kyle Becker, but not Canadian for me. what we've learned is Tampa Bay are still not any better on the road, and it'll still come back to bite them in the ass somehow.
Yeah, it's an entirely different looking team. It's just stunning.
It's to me, and I haven't listened to unused substitutes, and actually I really regretted that about an hour or two ago, because I wonder what they're saying exactly. Someone's got to be calling for that coach's head, because they have way too much talent to be doing this.
They have way too many resources too.
Exactly.
You look at, I mean, they're as deep as anybody. They might be the deepest team in the league.
I mean,
and for this to be their road form, not that I don't think Richmond can surprise people at home, because they certainly can. But I don't get it for Tampa.
If it wasn't, go ahead.
Yeah, they've played 3 home games, shut out every single opponent, including the Monarchs. That's the only loss the Monarchs have is in Tampa. And on the road, they've have 5 straight shutout losses after being North Carolina week 1. I have no idea what's going on, and it's confusing and scary that this team could be so much worse on the road. It's not like, well, this team wins all their home games and is okay on the road. This is on the road. They could arguably be one of the worst teams in the entire league right now.
Yep.
I think if I was the coach, I would throw the playbook out the window for away games and maybe try bunkering for a few games, or maybe, because they possess the ball. They do the same thing in every game. Like, just do something different, do something extreme, because it is that bad where people are going to start asking questions. The owner should be by now. The owner should be up his ass right now.
Yep. Bill Edwards is intense. I'm sure
it might be happening.
Not beyond him for sure. Yeah. Speaking of intense things that are happening that don't usually happen, Cincinnati get blown out by Charlotte.
This is the weirdest game of the week.
It really is, isn't it?
I watched a decent amount, and I just couldn't believe they kept scoring and scoring and scoring.
Cincy just looked bad. They look honest. There was a couple games last year, like early in the season, where I thought that Cincy just kind of looked uninterested in playing defense. I kind of felt that way about this game, where they wanted to get dragged into a shootout. It looked like a little bit, but then didn't score.
They did have, I think, I didn't look at the stats for this game, but I think they did have a lot of shots and a lot of maybe shots on goal. I feel like the stats were closer than the score line, but as far as who was controlling the game, it was Charlotte the whole time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was closer than the scoreline showed. I mean, Charlotte was by clear the better team on this one, but it was closer than the scoreline was. For me, I'm just a little bit more concerned, and I've said it a few times, that defense for Cincinnati is a little bit too inconsistent for me, especially when to be giving up 4 goals to Charlotte, who hadn't scored in the last 4 games. You can't give up 2 to Atlanta, who is not that great of a team. You give up 2 to Indy, who, again, scoring is not their strong point. 2 to Pittsburgh. It's one of those where if they could clear up their defense, I think Cincinnati, you could almost make the argument, is the best team in the East. But that defense right now is so inconsistent.
So I did have a good conversation with Boston, because I was from Cincinnati Soccer Talk, and I can't remember what I said the previous week about. He said it sounded like I was a bit confused about their setup, but he did want to make it clear that the first few games where they did well defensively, part of that was how well their goalkeeper did, who is out right now. That's another variable to pay attention to. But when they started getting the attack in order was when they went to a 4-4-2 diamond, and the attack started taking off, rightly so, and they gave up a few more goals. And then obviously this game is part of that whole equation. So maybe watch, what is Cincy playing in? What formation are they in? Are they going to defend, or are they going to attack? If I were Koch, I think I would pick and choose when and where to do those things. And Charlotte maybe wasn't expected to score 4 goals like that, so why bunker in or anything like that. But at the same time, maybe if you're away, maybe try focusing on defense if you're Cincinnati and getting that in order, because obviously defending works. Let's look at what Pittsburgh what they're doing right now.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, to me, with the exception of the Ottawa game, Cincinnati's look better in their lowest scoring matches than their highest scoring matches, even their high scoring wins. The lowest scoring ones, they look like a clearly better team.
Kev,
Speaking of defensive teams,
the baby Cascadia Cup rivalry from the weekend, unless your academies played each other.
Cascadia Sippy Cup.
Ooh, very good. See, but I want that to be the academy teams. I want this to be like the Cascadia, like, I don't know, PBR Cup. Nah.
No.
What's a teenage coming of age? Wait, what's
the Cascadia 16 Candles Cup? Are we naming movies now?
No, what's the vampire movies that were in Cascadia? We need to use those.
Buffy the
vampire movie?
Twilight.
Kind
of Twilight reference there.
No, we're okay.
No.
Okay. I'm 35, everyone.
I'm turning 36 this year.
Hey.
So I'm 35 now. Hey,
God,
give me Phil. Anyway, so Portland's doing pretty good. They're tied with Pittsburgh for the league lead in shutouts. Not as good as Pittsburgh because they've got 6 and 8, and Portland has 6 and 10. But still, as a defensive, I mean, they're shown to be a very good defensive team.
Very much so.
Yeah. And then this was what, Saturday?
Mm-hmm.
This was Saturday late in the day, and then the first teams came and played on Sunday. This was the first gut punch that Seattle took on the weekend. Eric Williamson's first pro goal was the latest goal scored in T2 history at the 92nd minute. So it was literally like 3 seconds left in 2 minutes of stoppage time. The last kick of the game, Williamson got all 3 points for Portland. So that had to sting. And then the very next day, the first teams played not as late of a goal, but it was scored the 86th minute, and then Portland beat Seattle 1-0 there. So not a good weekend for Seattle fans. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the 100th match between Seattle and Portland for the games that kind of actually matter.
Yeah.
Not that USL games don't matter, but
hey, it's still bragging rights.
It is, and but I'm just saying, like, if you see an Open Cup between Seattle and Portland, it's literally T2 versus S2, and they're just like, whatever, whoever goes.
Speaking of going, Didier Drogba decided to go off in this match. 5-1 win over Tulsa for Phoenix. Drogba scores in the 4th minute, and then feeds Lambert for the second in the 66th off of a free kick, and then scores a nice goal in the 69th minute off of a free kick. Nice.
Do you guys see the Drogba magic water that they were pretending to sell?
Yeah, they're gonna do a giveaway of Drogba magic water, which can heal everything, I'm sure.
Well, and what was that? He just drank some water and took a free kick and scored a goal from what?
Yeah.
Yards.
It was a corner kick. He opened up a water that a fan had, drank it, took a sip or whatever. Took the corner kick, and then whoever it landed on got the goal. So he got the assist on. Yeah, Cortez. I don't think it was this match though.
No, it was last one.
Yeah, last one. Yeah. Well, we blew our spot. Sorry, guys.
It was still fun.
Good stuff.
But you still have a 40-year-old soccer player scoring 2 goals. And
actually, quick line for help from Nick Murray or someone in the USL if they want to let us know. Did we witness the oldest and youngest goal scorer in USL history in the same week of matches?
That's a good point.
Because we probably did. Because I don't think anyone older than Drogba would have scored because he's 40. And I think
15
it would have
got to be as young as it gets.
Right. And it would have to be an MLS 2 team, I'd imagine. So, hi, friends at USL. You should let us know some way or another.
How old is Alphonso Davies? Because when Whitecaps 2 existed, he scored.
Oh, that's a good
point. He was 15. No, he was 15.
So who's younger by
it's between the two of them.
Was it Davies at 15 in whatever days?
It'll be down the days.
Or Alvarez. So, but still, I mean, we could at the minimum we've seen the youngest hat trick scored and potentially the oldest brace or oldest goal scored. But we do need to find out, USL, if it is in fact the oldest goal scored and the youngest goal scored in the same week.
That's good.
Verify me.
Got to figure that out. Also, that's a good measurable to maybe compare Davies to Alvarez in talent level. Yep. Not the same player, but talent level. That could be legit.
Yeah.
Some of the players are Canada and some of the players are Mexico. Yes.
Yeah, right.
But they both play in America, in American League, essentially.
Yeah. RGV and San Antonio played to a 0-0 draw in the South Texas Derby.
We were talking about how RGV is going to steal some from people unexpectedly, and this is a perfect example, in my opinion.
And the part I was looking, they look like the better team too. I think San Antonio should be happy to get a point on this one. I didn't watch the entire game, but the part I saw, RGV looked like they were going to take the points, if someone's going to take all the points.
I feel like RGV often looks like they're going to win a game and then kind of blow it. I like them. I think they're a good team, and I want them to get more extreme with their style of play, kind of like San Antonio has. But, they're good enough to steal them, like we said early. Like I said, this is a perfect example.
Phil, I wasn't expecting you guys to draw this game, if I'm honest.
No one should have expected it, but
here we are.
Yeah, well, here we are. I think they were extremely embarrassed. I talked to a couple players actually in between the games, and they were really upset. And I think they had a chip on their shoulder for this OC game. And it's a good morale boost to beat a team as good as OC. And honestly, they dictated the game. I thought the whole game they looked like the better team and pulled it out. They scored both goals. So maybe
there's a game where you scored more than one goal.
Yeah, you guys are doing great at that. You're doing great.
Now you just need the results to go your way instead
of, or put it in the right net instead of the wrong one.
We were saying that St. Louis probably should have lost 6-1 to LA, but they lost 6-3. They've got fight in them, and maybe they're not going to win every game. They've got a lot of guys out. People don't realize that was, first of all, that was Tomas Gomez's first start of the season. He's been out with a hip injury, and I think they pushed him up a little bit to kind of, it felt like they needed a little bit of an edge in this game because of the loss to LA. But we still have Wallfall injured. We still have Tony Walls injured. Those are two really solid veteran midfielders that we haven't been able to use for most of the season. So there's reserves coming in, and this team's going to improve later in the year. There's also, as we were talking about before the show, an international slot, which is kind of the mystery man we hope is on the way. Like I said last week, St. Louis, I really want them to make a splash in some kind of an attacker that can score some more goals outside of just Greg and obviously Valesky, who's gone now. So they need some help, and there's help, I think, on the way, I hope.
Fair enough.
Here, Ryan Allen might be returning soon.
Hey, there it is. Big St. Louis splashy signing, Ryan Allen.
No, we just got rid of Valesky. I said it.
All right.
All right.
Continuing. Sacramento choke a game away here to Reno.
Yeah, this is one I saw coming, not in this form, but the defense just completely collapsed to start the second half, which if you follow Sacramento, the defense completely collapsing to start the second half is normal. I think that first 15 minutes is probably the worst 15 minutes for Sacramento in almost every game. But this was one that was just very confusing. The team fell asleep, gave up 3 very quick goals, and then just looked shell-shocked from there on out. I mean, Reno's always been a problem for them. They looked good in the first half, though, Sacramento, and like I said, they just fell asleep to start the second half, which happens way too much for, I think, anyone in Sacramento's liking. And this is a great example of the good and the bad from Sacramento. That first half shows them when they play well, they are arguably one of the top teams in the West and could beat or at least hang with any team. And in the second half, they showed that they could also be one of the worst teams in the West, which, given that their defense and keeper are basically all entirely new, is somewhat expected. I think Reno might be starting to turn the corner. They did that around this time last season. If they could do that again, they might turn into last year's Reno, where they suddenly are hey, look, this is a good team as opposed to a team that probably has no chance to do anything. But moving forward, I think this could be a turning point for both teams. Sacramento needs to quickly respond, and Reno needs to keep playing like they did in the second half, and they might start moving up the table.
So I watched this game right before we started recording because I was like, I'm going to watch a game. I haven't watched Sacramento yet. I'm going to watch them because obviously they're doing so well. And, I back up the Pony. Maybe because the first half I watched up until the first Reno goal. In the first half, I was like, oh, I totally get why these guys are doing really well. They were the best team by at least double. I mean, they were so much better than Reno in the first half. They were controlling the game, I thought. Is it Cohen is their goalkeeper? Did a great job in that first half. And then they fell apart. I just don't know how they could do so badly. But even the little bit that I saw of the second half, I was just like, gosh, these guys look lazy. They look like they don't care anymore. This is not a team that can do anything in the playoffs. I mean, maybe they'll make the playoffs, but if they don't fix whatever the hell happened in that game, they're in big trouble in the playoffs. They're not going anywhere.
Yeah, 2 of those goals by Reno were so similar that I was getting confused because I was half watching the game as there was a second one on. They're like, wait, that was a replay. Why did they put another one on the scoreboard for a replay? Because it was that similar.
And the goals weren't like, oh man, that was super impressive. It was just Reno doing their
defensive
job.
breakdown.
It really was. It really was. It's hard to watch.
Speaking of hard to watch for Louisville fans, they go to Nashville and lose 2-0. Now, my questions, Phil, you were talking a little earlier about Nashville kind of needing that cutting edge. Looks like it's for Papa Mensah and Liba Milota. If they can figure out how to work with each other like that again, they'll be doing all right this year. And then my other things is I think on the commentary they gave a lot of credit to Gary Smith for having his team that organized and playing that well against James O'Connor and his side. Was that a lot to do with Gary Smith, or was that a lot to do with there's not a lot of tape on Nashville yet, so they're still pretty fresh and not a lot of people know how they're going to attack or approach and vice versa?
I don't think so. Watching this game, I think 2 things happened. I think one is if you're going to do well against Louisville, especially away, if you defend incredibly well, and in some ways you get a little bit lucky because Louisville had some really good chances that they just didn't quite finish. They had so many close chances in this game. But, I mean, Nashville did a great job defending, and that's their forte, and it worked against Louisville. And so I think, teams like Nashville and maybe Pittsburgh at home, man, perhaps that game will be pretty tough for Louisville to walk away winning. And again, they lost Nashville. So anyway, I think maybe we found a roadmap to beat Louisville. If you can defend well enough, you might do it. Okay. The other one was Nashville's goals weren't that special. I thought they were a little bit weak.
I thought Miloto's first one was really great in that he almost had to run over Matt LaGrossa to take it. But
yes. I love that he did that, first of all.
Yeah, it was really good.
It makes you wonder, like, in training, did a certain amount of things happen where he's like, no, he's not taking it, I am.
No, you know what? He probably just ran in and went, I got this. And then, like, the next penalty kick they get is totally LaGrossa's to take, right? To make up for it.
That was my other take, is that I thought they defended incredibly well, but their goals weren't impressive enough for me to think this would continue to happen. However, I have been calling for Mensah to start, and he started this game, and he did look dangerous, and I liked it. Could keep happening.
Yeah, much like as apparently the pattern in the East, Nashville undefeated at home and have actually not allowed a goal yet. And they've played mostly on the road. They have most of their home games late, so we might see them make a jump come, looks like June, where they get four home games in June. So there's their opportunity to show that they're actually good.
They could be a fun team come the end of the season.
Oh yeah,
it's like Lily Ball light still to me.
I think it's Lily Ball too much. You went too far.
It's Lily Ball with the worst offense and a little bit worse defense.
Yeah,
they're like Tampa Bay, but not as good. Which actually works because they're really good at home. So that's apropos. Speaking of apropos things, guys, Fulham and Aston Villa are going to play each other in the English Championship playoff final. Evan, what are you doing? You having a stroke? No. Well, maybe, but no, I don't think so. It doesn't smell like burnt toast yet, so that's good. Our friends at Soccer Loco, though, can totally help you out if you need, your English Championship gear, your Premier League gear. If you really vibed on what Mo Salah did this season, how couldn't you? Pick up his kit. Or maybe you're, very much a fan of Pep Guardiola and Manchester City getting 100 points and making Phil Foden the youngest Premier League medal winner in history.
Make it happen.
Do that. USLshow.com, and then there's a box and it says Soccer Loco. Click on that. Buy things. Do it. Hi, DK. How you been? Great. Good talk. Yeah, so before we get out of here, because I got to do a podcast with Joe from Raising Bulls in about 10 minutes. I would like to tell everyone you can find us at the USL Show on the Twitter. That's really cool. We're there. Come say hi. Also, the USLshow.com is where you can find this podcast. That's where it goes live first. So if you want to listen to it before all your friends do so that you can spoil it for them, do that. It's basically like Avengers Infinity War. I don't feel so good. And then, check out our Patreon, which is linked on the website. Our link to Soccer Loco is there as well. But yeah, thanks guys for your support. On behalf of Phil, who is at Phil Grooms with 2 L's and 2 O's, behalf of Pony, who's at Iron Pony Chef on the Twitter. Big Kev is at K McCamish PDX as well as at PTK Podcast. Yeah,
Did it?
yeah, got it. I've been your host, Evan Villela, which is at Villela BSFC, V as in Victor, ILLELLA BSFC on the Twitters. And we'll talk to you guys next week. Take care.
Hey, Evan, how are you doing today?
I'm great, Phil. How are you?
I'm good. Did
That's
I do that right?
Yeah. Cool. Phil, are you gonna
I'm a trend starter.
your trend starter? That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
I ask you how you're doing, and everybody else is like,
Right.
"Oh,
Then everyone else is trying to ask me how I'm doing. And I don't know how I feel about it, Also expect like Red Bull 2 versus Bethlehem Steel to basically be an MLS match tomorrow.
Oh,
This is what I've heard. Corey Burke is currently on red card suspension in MLS, which means nothing to USL, so he'll be there.
Awesome. That's actually hilarious.
Really? I think that's happened before with T2.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But I mean, I'll talk to Joe in a bit. But I imagine seems like whenever Steel and Red Bull 2 play each other is a little more MLS guys than usual. So we'll see.
Oh, fair.
What we call those type of games in the West is T1.5.
Yep.
It's not T2. It's not T1. It's T1.5.
I like it.
Speaking of games tomorrow, 2 people in this room have not filled out their picks yet. Last I saw.
Whoa!
I have not filled out my
Sir?
picks. I know. Thank you for that gentle reminder, Mr. Pony.
Yeah, man.
Well, now that I'm tied for first again, I can't have using that as an excuse.
Take me out to dinner first, eh?
Dude, how did I have the best week followed by the worst week?
No one knows, Kev.
Because you talk shit about it.
I haven't
Oh, hey.